Welcome back to a brand new season of Rip It Up. Every renovation teaches you something, but it's only after you've lived through the dust, the delays and the decisions, and then done it again like me, that the real lessons appear. This season, we're revisiting our biggest renovation topics, not with theory, not with optimism, but with hindsight. Process, planning, lighting, kitchens, bathroom, windows, what worked, what didn't, and what we'd never do the same way again. This is What We Wish We Knew Then.
Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
We are on to the next of our new series, which is kitchens, our favourite topic, and very timely because your kitchen is currently on the cover of the current edition of House and Home magazine, looking stun.
It's amazing. Yeah, they took great photos, and the styling and everything on the day was. My house will probably never look like that again, but it was lovely to have it like that for the day.
I know the feeling when it's always clean, but your house always does look amazing. But yeah, I know there's nothing better than like cleaned and styled. I'm like everybody out for 3 days.
Can I just give away my husband and my children now for a while and keep this? But yeah, they did a lovely job, and Elise, that photographer, she's just unreal. Like, she's so good. Like, some of her photos are just amazing. But yeah, I feel a bit smoked because I do love my kitchen this time, and I don't have very many regrets, which is good.
Okay, so let's get into it because that is what we want to talk about. So we love kitchens. Kitchens are our favourite part of any renovation, and getting your kitchen right just makes your life better, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So if you're listening so far, our last 2 episodes we were talking about mechanical and electrical plans, and obviously your kitchen is a big component to this, so we'll talk about a little bit of that. And then just overall, like layout, storage, how you use it. There's a few kind of outdated concepts that we'll get back to. We probably won't get to like countertops and like specifics on appliances today. We might leave that for another episode. That's a little bit later down the line anyway, when you're kind of going through your renovation. But yeah, overall, how you do the layout, the flow, like how you kind of position things. Maybe talk us through like how you did that this time around.
Yeah, versus last time. I probably did give it a lot more thought, and I think maybe our life changed a little bit after we planned our last one, and that like we didn't have kids when we planned it, and then we had kids, and like, I don't know, there's a few differences in my old kitchen and my new kitchen. The biggest one for me is having a clear island this time, and I know it's a contentious one.
And so last time you had your hob on your island, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
we had our hob on our island, and we had I would say a narrow, long island, which in hindsight for me is a mistake. It's not conducive to good conversation. Like if there's a group of you, because you're in a line like an interview, I find it's not deep enough to have a hob on it. When your hob is on the island, you tend to have a lot of other stuff around it. It's just a bit messy. There's a bit of splash, whatever. It's just harder to keep the place tidy. And it's, I don't know, this time we kind of went a bit smaller, squarer. That's just the shape would allow for in our space or whatever. But yeah, at 90 degrees to the way we had it last time, and clear, nothing on it.
Yeah.
And we've kind of, made it that we can put stools around the end of it as opposed to all on one side.
Because you've got a curve on one end, which is so much nicer to sit around. Yeah.
It's so much nicer to sit around. And I love sitting around it. I love the shape because it feels like a table. And it also feels like a table because there's no hob on it, right? So I don't feel like a teppanyaki chef or something, So I just think I feel like I prep more than I'm standing at a hob.
Totally. Okay, I was just thinking that as you were talking, because I think there is this notion, which is probably a very reasonable thing to think, that if you are cooking and you have people over, that you're going to be standing at the hob most of the time. And so putting the hob on the island is the most social positioning for it.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that, and I think it makes sense to think that, but it's not actually the case.
True.
Like, you're mostly chopping and prepping and moving things around, and then you go over for a bit of a stir every now and then, but like...
Unless you're making a risotto or something, like...
Yeah, you're not standing at the hob that much.
Like, there's not that much stuff. You're standing at the hob, stirring, turning, whatever. So I feel like, prep, you're facing everyone, you can kind of talk while you're chopping. It's not as loud having the extractor up against the wall and away from everyone as opposed to on the island. Sink on the island, I know we spoke about this before, absolutely not for me.
Yeah,
like it's too
messy.
So messy. Like whose sink is ever clear? Like fair play if it is, but it's hard to keep it clear. Like there's always a few bits around it. Yeah. Especially if your kids, always full of some plastic shite and bowls and whatever. Totally. So like I think a clear island, if you have the space. If you don't have the space, a hob on it, but allow enough depth that you're not splashing people and allow a shape of an island that's a bit more conducive to like sitting around in a semicircle or whatever, or opposite each other, not in a big long line. I know the look people want when the stools all line up and it looks very sharp, but it just doesn't really function. It didn't.
It's fine for two people, I think, sitting side by side, maybe having a bit of breakfast or whatever, or like a few snacks. But once you have more than two people, then it's really uncomfortable to just sit in a line, especially for the person in the middle. It's just a horrible thing. It's not nice. So yeah, definitely something that curves around the end of it is so much nicer.
Yeah, no, I love that. That was the biggest, I would say, layout change I've made this time.
Yeah. And also, like, we talked about this, I think, before. I don't remember if it was on this podcast or just in a, maybe it was on the radio or something, but the old concept of the kitchen triangle is kind of gone. And like, it's not a bad place to start, because having somewhere to start in terms of how you use the space is no bad thing, but it's probably just not really necessary anymore. We don't really live like that and cook like that anymore. So I think instead, like we always say this, like really just thinking about how you, specifically you, yourself, whoever you are, when you're listening, like really thinking about, do you cook mostly on the hob, or do you use the oven, or do you only use the oven every Sunday, you know, for a Sunday roast, or not even then? Do you, like, are you in and out of the dishwasher constantly? Like, would it make sense to put the dishwasher at a bit of a height? Is it difficult to get stuff in and out of that dishwasher? Is the fridge, I always think this is a really important one, the fridge needs to be at an easy to access point in your kitchen, because people, you and other people are going to be going in and out of that fridge constantly, just getting a glass of water, drink, whatever, snack. And so you don't want to have to walk into the hardest part of the kitchen to access that fridge. Like, that needs to be at an easy point. That's really important.
Yeah, and across people that are potentially cooking or handling hot stuff or whatever, you know. A clear path to that fridge for sure. Yeah.
Clear path to the fridge, number one, really important. But yeah, how you use it yourself, I think is really, really important. And then I think a place to have appliances is becoming increasingly important, because maybe back in the day we had a kettle and a toaster. Now we have kettle, toaster, coffee grinder, air fryer. What am I missing? A million different things.
A million different ones. Rice cooker, toasted sandwich maker, like stand mixer,
Vitamix.
There's a million
blender.
Like there is a million different ones, and I think that old triangle, it works to an extent, but like our appliances aren't even laid out like that anymore. I think, you know, they used to be like the hob / oven kind of range all in one kind of when it was that concept, I think. And then, you know, your water, and then your fridge. And yes, it is easy that you're not walking loads of distance between them, but I think how we use those now is very different. Like, I think people don't use their oven at the same time as the hob all the time. People sometimes don't use their oven for weeks on end, and maybe use an air fryer that's tucked into a corner somewhere, or like they might just use the hob day to day and then the microwave a lot of the time, or whatever. So like, I think don't be bogged down with that triangle idea. I think it's great that you're not traipsing across the whole kitchen, you know, more than 3 or 4 steps if it's something you're accessing all the time. But like, other than that, I think it's fine.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. I do think that like the position of what's where is helpful, because like if you really don't use the oven that often, like you might not necessarily need a full size oven. Maybe you're looking at a combi oven, or at least a combi oven in like the main part of your kitchen. And maybe if you have a big one, the main oven is tucked away somewhere else in a, you know, less utilized place. Like you might not necessarily need it like in the center of your kitchen if you don't use it that often. The dishwasher I just mentioned, but you can, you know, if you find bending over and emptying or unloading the dishwasher is a strain on your back, or you're doing it constantly and it's just really annoying, you can have your dishwasher raised up at a height. That could be, you know, one of your tall units. Like, I really think that makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
One thing I love is having dishwasher, bin, sink all within reach when you're in one standing position. Yeah. You have to have that.
Scrape the plates, rinse the plates potentially if you need to, and then straight into the dishwasher. Yeah. Like, I just think that run is just, it works. It's foolproof. I did it last time, I did it this time. Wouldn't change from it again, I don't think.
And that's what you're doing daily. So that's a really important thing to have, I think. Another one to think about, and we're not going to go deep into appliances, but early at this stage, right, when you're planning your kitchen layout and you've done you're doing your M&E plan, is you need to know about ventilation. So you need to think about what kind of hob are you going to have, and what does that mean for extraction. So we have gone through all sorts of extraction in our various houses. We've had overhead. We don't like that. I don't like anything overhead, but that's a separate issue.
Sorry, who likes cleaning the greasy underside of a hood? Like, no.
And just too much vapor. Like, there's such a huge distance between your hob and the overhead extractor. It just doesn't remove enough of that vapor for me, do you know?
It's just messy and it's just greasy. And like
Yeah.
we had a twin fan one before. So people are like, oh, some of them are really good. I still didn't find it as good as the downdraft, to be honest. I just think,
Yeah.
you know, the suction from the downdraft close to where you're cooking, close to that source of steam or smoke or whatever. Like I personally think it's way more efficient.
Oh, 100%.
Getting rid of smells and steam.
And then, so what I have, we both had downdraft. We both had different types of downdraft. Now we have the same one. But what you can do if you're getting a downdraft extractor, right? There's two ways of doing a ventilation. One is no ventilation at all. So it's a fully self-contained unit that has this charcoal filter in it. And you need to replace that filter about once a year. It's about €100. Depending on what kind of hob or model you have. But what I love about that one really works for me. I never, like, I don't know if you've ever smelled any kitchen smells coming into my house. And I eat like fish a lot. Like there's, it should, like, I put it to the test. But what I love about that fully self-contained one is that you can take that entire mechanism out of the hob and put it into the dishwasher. And so all that like grease and anything that normally flows through a duct of a extractor fan is just washed away like whenever you need to. So for cleanliness, that's my preference. But you can also have it ducted externally as well.
Yeah, I ducted externally in my last house. I didn't this time. So we were digging up floors, so we had the opportunity to kind of do big duct out. I thought it was the better option, but it's actually louder, I think, because the sound kind of echoes through that chamber, that duct. We also had leakage back in from outside when it wasn't properly closed in and kind of shielded off outside.
Oh, I never thought of that, because it would. Yeah.
Yeah, and like depending on the bends or the turns or the route out, I've heard a lot of people say it's very drafty.
Oh God.
So
I never even thought of that.
Yeah. So like you can get drafts back depending on the direction of the ducting and stuff. So it's not that it's negative, but it just has to be given some considerations, I suppose. And having switched to the recirculating like you have now this time, I can't see a negative. Besides having to change the filter, like I find it a bit quieter probably than the ducted one. And there's obviously no drafts or whatever because it's fully enclosed. So
you've a newer model than me, so I'd say yours. Mine is definitely noisy. Like you definitely have to like turn up the TV if you're cooking at the same time, kind of thing.
So I had the same
model
last time, I think. Besides the ducting or not, but like it was the Puro or something. So this time we went with the X Pure, I think it's called. And the reason we went for that is the induction zones are usually like, I don't know, a little ring of 20, 25 centimeters, something like that. Whereas the X Pure has the whole right-hand side is an induction zone. So you can put a whole griddle pan down. So that's kind of why we did it.
Yeah.
So it's like you could use huge saute pans and it'll still hit the induction. And we also went for the matte finish. So the matte finish it doesn't scratch. Whereas last time I found I had a lot of scratches.
Mine is a bit scratched. Now, it's nothing that annoys me. It's not scratched enough to annoy me. And I've had it like over 5 years. So it's grand. But no scratches would be amazing.
Yeah, so that's my thoughts. Obviously there's some beautiful ranges, your whatever, kind of Cornu and Lacanche and all those beautiful, colourful ranges. Like it's different ball game. You just have to kind of consider that in the layout of your kitchen and how much space it takes up. And then the extractor overhead and all that kind of jazz, and whether you go induction or gas. And I know the romance around gas and stuff, but realistically, like induction works better than gas. I think it's
well, there's going to be someone listening who's going to be screaming at us, being like, "No, you can never beat a spider burner." Yeah. And if that's how you feel, you should go for it. Like it's like
I'm
preference
not
matters.
A gas burner, like every time I cook, like it's just not happening. Like
I will speak to a range because in our family home at home we had for forever an agate that has lasted. Like I think these things are bomb proof. Like it's just lasted forever, and I think. That's kind of what I learned to like cook on and bake in, and it's very different because it's not precise. You kind of have to get to know your range and you have to understand its moods and know like there's obviously no fan in older agates, like the air doesn't circulate, so you need to know where like the hot zones are and the cold zones are. And also like we really leaned into it as the center of the house, so it did our heating and everything like that. So like you're leaning into a different lifestyle there, and there's nothing better or worse. You just have to decide, are you the kind of, like, I think if you're home a lot and if you've got a lot of kind of slow cooked meals on the go, kind of always something in the oven type of a person, then that could really work for you. And if you do have gas, like it is a pretty efficient way to heat your home. And that can be nice. but it's not something that I would go for because you like the look of it. And I know that you can get electric kind of ranges, and I know you can get induction ones and all that kind of stuff, but I just think they're two very, very different things.
Okay, I think we should leave probably cooking and hobs for now because we've been talking about it for
we're
too
going to
long.
go deep.
That's my, like, I'm probably not going to change ever from induction. Induction is as good as the pots you use, though. I will say that. If people have had negative experience, it's usually because they have shit pots, thin pots. But besides, going back to that kind of triangle, right? So your sink, your dishwasher, and your heat or whatever. I also think the dishwasher one, the layout's really important, like what's beside it. And this was Savvy that put me onto this the last time, is big, deep drawers close to your dishwasher that you can just pick up all your plates and put them into drawers. Yeah. Like, I think just drawers in general in a kitchen are just better. Like, they're better. You've nothing thrown into the back that it's getting lost or, you know, dirty or spilled or whatever. So, like, I just think
under the counter, you have to have drawers. Yeah, definitely. And I have the same thing. And like for 90% of my dishwasher, when I empty it, I don't have to move a step. Like, I'm literally standing in the same place and like lifting plates, cups, cutlery, you know, that kind of utensils from one place to another. And it's so handy. Yeah. And when you're thinking about your drawers and your layout, think about what you're using when you're standing in that space. You know, like your plates want to be kind of close-ish to where you're going to be dining. Over that, you have your cutlery because you're going to access two of those at the same time. Then your pots and your larger cooking utensils might be directly under your hob or alongside it if you have a range or something like that. So just make sure everything is kind of the one step, or, you know, turn around and it's right there. Your chopping board, same kind of thing. Your chopping knives, all that. Everything is kind of easy, rich. Yeah. There's no point having a load of like kids' lunch boxes under your hob because they're not things you're going to use at the same time. So like, just plan it out like that and do that walk through. Pretend you're cooking. What do I need now? Pretend, you know, I need my spices. Making the lunches, whatever, you know. Making a cup of tea, like all that kind of stuff. Unloading the dishwasher, doing a big meal. Like, that's a really good point, I think. Yeah. And I think sink layouts then, like, I'm a fan of a small kitchen sink. Like, I just don't think you need huge ones unless you're someone that's soaking massive trays and stuff like that. I'm usually fine with the standard 60 square one. Yeah. The only thing that doesn't fit into my sink is a big oven tray. So that's the only time, like if I've ever done a big deep clean on the oven, I've had to take them into the bath. Which work fine, and I wouldn't get a bigger sink just to accommodate that. Like, I don't need to do that often. You wouldn't just throw them into the dishwasher, you know? So I have a narrower dishwasher. Oh, you have the 45 centimeter. I have the 45 centimeter dishwasher, which for 99% of my day is perfect. But the one time, they don't all fit in. Yeah. But like sinks, whatever, like do whatever you think you'll use the most, but just don't put it on your island because it's messy as hell. It's splashy, and around the tap gets messy, and you've hand soap there, and you've scrubbing brushes, but you look rotten, and you know, like it's not for your island, in my opinion. I know. And then cooker tap, that's something I put in this time. It didn't out last time, but it's a cooker with sparkling water. All day long I put it in again. Not bothered by the boiling water, if I'm honest. No, it doesn't do it for me. It's not hot enough. Induction is so fast on a hob, doesn't really save you a massive amount of time, in my opinion. But I do like the sparkling water. And the boiling water is kind of handy when I'm cleaning. I turn on the boiling water and a little bit of the cold water at the same time. So I have kind of hot water for cleaning, which is very handy. And I use that a lot. But cooker, another decision to be made around your sink area. I think it's something like if you drink loads of tea and you want like tea on demand, then I think it's really handy. And if not, I don't know if you need it. Yeah. And if you're a tea snob, you probably won't like the tea from a cooker, to be honest. Probably not. I don't. It's just not that hot. It's okay. It's fine. And then the other thing to think about is storage, right? So I think like a lot of times you go into a kitchen place and they're like brilliant and they shove as many cabinets as possible into the space available, which like makes sense. Why wouldn't they? But I think you as the person living in the house, you just really need to think about like how much stuff do you actually have, or will you actually have? And how much storage do you really need, and what do you need to be able to access? And my entire point here is that I don't think you need overhead cabinets. I just don't know if anybody ever needs overhead cabinets. I'm a little like mixed on that, but I also think you absolutely shouldn't do an open shelf unless you're someone who's going to style an open shelf. Make your kitchen look and shit. It gets dusty. So maybe leave that. It does. And I think like you have to think, if you're putting an open shelf in, what's going on that shelf? And it better not be lunch boxes and random plates and cups and stuff. Do you know?
#1 dad cups. Like, it has to look nice. It's an open shelf. It's a display shelf as such in your kitchen. So like,
And there are like
like
spaces where you're going to have to put them in. Like, if you got a really tiny kitchen, little galley kitchen, something like that, obviously, of course, you're going to have to put them in there. And like, you can think then about like what, can you do different things to balance out the colour, for example, so it doesn't feel kind of too hemmed in or overwhelming. Is there even an option for like sliding doors overhead? I just don't like, what I really don't like about overhead cabinets is, one, just visually, they really hem the space in. They make it feel a lot smaller. And two, I just hate an open door in an overhead cabinet. It really just messes me up. I just don't like it. I feel like you're always like banging into it, and it's just hard to like open and close things. And yeah. So
I think they're like a necessary evil in some kitchens, but I understand. One thing I did do in this house, because just the layout of our kitchen, we have kind of 2 runs. What do you call that? It's an L shape kind of.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's like a T shape almost. Yours is.
So like we have 2 perpendicular runs of units. A tall bank, which is my oven, my fridge, and then a low bank with a shelf over it, which is like sink, bin, dishwasher, all that kind of jazz. And then in the corner, I was like, we build that in with all the unit, and we didn't. And we just did shelves in there. But I call it my Heidi corner, because it just gets fucking pushed in there and you can't see it. Because it's hidden behind the fridge. So like, if I'm back in my living space or at my island, I can't see what's in that messy corner. And it's my blender, and it's my toaster, and it's my air fryer, and it's all this shit that I cook with that I don't want on display. And then I just leave my shelf with the nice little bits. So like, I think a Heidi corner is revolutionary for me.
Absolutely. The other thing you can put in, so that works great if you have a Heidi corner available to you that's not within your visual eye line of where you're sitting. If you don't, you can put in either pocket doors or an appliance garage. So this is just kind of a door that will like either roll up or slide up or push back into itself or something like that. And so your countertop runs into that space, and you should have a load of plugs in there. And that's where your, as you said, like your kettle, your appliances, whatever. But then you can close it off whenever you need to. So like, you have to be so realistic as well. Like, every single thing you're planning, like we always say this, people tend to plan for this like idealized lifestyle that they're going to live, and they're like, oh, I'm never going to have pots and pans out in the counter. Of course you are. Like, mess just happens. So you just have to plan for where is the mess going to be, and then how can you hide that to make your life as enjoyable as possible.
I agree. Another little shelf kind of cabinet idea for the one above your oven maybe is vertical slots for your trays and chopping boards.
I don't have that. God, I really wish I did.
The amount of stuff it fits in mine. And like, I don't know how I'd store them otherwise, because I'd have 20 things stacked on top of each other between trays and Pyrex things, and
they're never the same size. So like, they don't stack on top of each other neatly at all.
Out? Like, the bottom one, if it's stuck in the bottom, is a pain. This way, they're just all stacked vertically. You can pull one at a time. It's a game changer. It really, really is for storing big, long things like that.
That's
you
genius,
know where place to put them.
The other thing as well, we talked about this before in a previous episode. I think it's like my most viewed post on Instagram, I think, is there's a tiny little 10 centimetre gap left over between my fridge and my exterior wall, which normally anybody else would have just panelled over it, because that's what you do, right? So kitchen cabinets are like, they're a standard width, and that's how it is. And so like, every house is different, so you're probably going to have gaps somewhere, probably. And if you have one, consider putting a door on it or something, or leaving it, open if you're someone that's really clean, because those really narrow vertical spaces you can fit so much in there.
So much. Yeah.
So much. Like, I love that cabinet, and I would be lost without it. So don't forget those vertical spaces that are left behind.
Use every inch. I think that's just a good thing to employ in kitchens anyway. Like, we have 3-meter high ceilings, and we put our cabinets to the ceiling. Yes, I don't access the top one all the time, but I can access it if I stand on the kitchen stool, and I put light things up there, like, plastic stuff and bottles or whatever that's in a box that's light to carry down or lift down if I need to, but it's out of sight. Some kind of bar stuff that I don't use all the time is up there as well. Yeah. And I just think, like, use the space. Why not?
Use the space. Yeah.
What about so you said slide and hide pantries. I think that's, in general, if you can put in slide and hide doors, do. The mechanism is a bit expensive. I think slide and hide door mechanisms are around €1,000, maybe even €1,200 for the mechanism just. Yeah. So that, it does add a bit of cost, but I think if you have a pantry that's anyway, first of all, it's just an easy way to tidy everything away and have mess behind it. But if it's anyway in a kind of a walkway or throughway or anything like that, like say my pantry is kind of a walk through from my hallway into my kitchen. Yeah. Like, it makes so much sense that those doors fold away.
It's one of those spends that is absolutely worth it. So if you can afford to work it into your budget, definitely do. It's really worth it. You will not regret it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a no-brainer for me, I think.
Yeah. So like we do have to talk about like lighting and stuff, but I think that could be lighting and workshops, I think could be something completely separate by themselves. And we did cover lighting a little bit, but if you were to think about like your kitchen now, any regrets? And I'll tell you mine.
No, I love it. I'm obsessed with my kitchen. You joke me. No, I really don't. I absolutely love it. There's nothing like, I should say that I don't love having my sink on my peninsula, but there's nowhere else I could have put it. I just didn't have the space for it, so I don't regret it per se. I also have a really deep peninsula that I love. No, I love my kitchen. I'm obsessed with my kitchen.
Savvy would be
so happy with it.
Well done, Dawn. I'll tell you my old house what I regretted. I don't anymore because it's not my kitchen anymore. The island I mentioned was too deep, too long, or not deep enough, sorry, and too long. So long and narrow. It was awkward to kind of sit out in groups of more than 2 or 3 people. And then the hob on the island, I don't know if it's a regret because I don't know if I would have fitted on the other run, but they were things that, I probably would have done differently. And then the other one is probably going with a colour that was maybe a bit bold because now I'm so sick of that colour green. I never want to see it again in my life. But yeah, it was probably a bit of a statement, and I don't think I'd make that statement again in terms of like a colour, a painted colour.
Yeah. I'll tell you the things I love, like the opposite of regrets, is that the pocket doors, so somewhere to hide the mess, is massive. I went for extra sockets as far as I possibly could. That, like, I really am delighted about that. What else do I love? I'm delighted with no overhead cabinets and the downdraft extractor. I would do that all day long again. And going floor to ceiling, so a full wall of floor to ceiling. I think that's why I was able not to have overhead cabinets then in the other wall.
Yeah, I think floor to ceiling is a key one. And one thing in our last, we boxed out the back of a kind of a butler's pantry.
Yeah.
Just because we had that extra depth to kind of flush out the wall. In hindsight, like, we should have used that full depth for something, like anything, whatever. It's better to just have the space than box it out and waste it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a bit of a regret for me. And this time we literally built all the way around the old chimney breast. So we used every single bit in our coffee dock and put in a tiny little sink in there to wash my milk pitcher out after I make coffee and stuff. So that's something that I kind of regretted. And one regret from this kitchen, one tiny, tiny regret, I haven't found anything else that I regret yet, is I didn't put in a crap drawer this time.
Oh, did you not?
No. I have no drawer for throwing shit into, when you come into your kitchen. So I have a basket kind of on the countertop as you come in, on the kind of display open cabinet. But that's probably a little bit of a miss. I didn't think of it.
Mm-hmm. Where do you put your mess? You have to design for your mess. That is the key to life.
Design for your mess.
You're going to be messy. Work around it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we could do a bigger, we'll leave it here for today. I think we could do a deep dive into appliances and worktops, a bit more maybe on lighting. We can probably go for, and just budget, a quick note on budget as well. Like when you are thinking about your appliances, you probably need to leave like 30% on top of your kitchen cost, usually, is what your appliances are going to cost. Is that about fair?
Yeah. Yeah, probably fair, yeah.
How much does the kitchen cost? Nobody can answer that. Only you can answer that question.
I know.
I mean,
it can be anything from like 10 grand to 100 grand.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Only you can answer that.
You have the control over that, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That we will leave that one there, and we'll do a deep dive on appliances and countertops soon. So we will dive into that.
Bye.
If you found this episode helpful, please hit subscribe, give us a few stars, and best of all, send it to someone else who you think would like it so they can subscribe too. Thank you.